All right, let's jump to wide receivers and take a look at some of the notable ones on bye. Michael Pittman coming off a solid game. In Europe, Chris Olave, Drake London, Rashid Shaheed, who just cannot make it happen at the moment. Josh Downs, Michael Thomas, who is also injured, get well, Michael, and Demario Douglas, also on bye. Not really the star-studded lineup that was on bye at running back, but still some guys who...
Pittman and Olave and London. And
Olave quietly got right as well.
Yeah, especially. You're hoping out of the bye it's Jameis Winston if you have Olave.
Yep, okay.
And Demario Douglas has been a thing the last couple weeks.
He's coming along.
He's been thing adjacent. Yeah, Demario Douglas. All right, Lawrence, let's start with you. Texans wide receiver Noah Brown, who just keeps on going off.
Yeah, definitely pick him up. Obviously, look out for Nico Collins coming back here, but back-to-back games, 150 receiving yards. The Cowboys is probably like, hey, because he used to play for the Cowboys. They're like, hey, where was this when you was with us? 20% target share in 3 of the past 4 games since coming back off IR again. 3 of those games had Nico Collins in them. 44% of his yards have come after the catch, and he caught one last game against the Bengals where he broke 2 or 3 tackles.
Yep.
This may be the player. This is not it.
This is not it. But
Just another one of his.
But he was.
But like,
Go ahead, Matthew.
no, you're watching footage of Noah Brown, and what's impressive about Noah Brown is like they're using him in the slot, so he's running his routes there. They play Arizona this week again, which I think is impressive. And you look at the upcoming schedule: Arizona, Jacksonville, Denver, the Jets. Good defenses, but all teams that you can throw against in the slot. And so, again, similar to what we talked about with kind of Devin Singletary, I don't think this goes back into the bottle. Like, I just think if you're the Texans, like, we have something. Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Noah Brown. Like, that's our 3 across. Like, and we're obviously going to be very pass happy as well. You see it there on your screen in terms of the last 4 games, what Noah Brown has done. Really, it's increased. It keeps increasing. Like, from 2 for 37 to 3 for 57, 6 for 153, 7 for 172. Like, Noah Brown.
Would you consider him a flex with Nico Collins back?
I would. Again, as you mentioned, since he's returned from IR, he's got a 20% target share in 3 of the 4 games since returning. And of those 4 games, Nico Collins played in 3 of them. Again, and I know Tank Dell's been in and out as well, but I don't know. I just sort of feel like this is as hot a passing offense as there is in the NFL.
Yeah.
And so,
insanely easy schedule upcoming for the Texans as well, so they should be able to light up some opposing defenses. Team that doesn't really light up opposing defenses, Matthew, is the Patriots, but Demario Douglas is effectively their wide receiver 1. He's on bye this week, but what do you think of his prospects going forward?
Well, I like him, and we've talked about Pop Douglas a couple of weeks now in a row, that once Devontae Parker went out, Kendrick Bourne went out for the year, Devontae Parker's been struggling with the concussion being in the protocol. We've been like, listen, it's like it's him or Juju Smith-Schuster, and we love Juju here. Lawrence is in business with Juju.
But shout out to Juju, man.
Right. But the fact of the matter is, at this stage of his career, it's been tough for Juju to get going, and this is somebody who I've talked about this multiple times, but we know. Like, I'm happy to give you my source. Devin McCourty told me, like, when he went to Patriots camp this in the preseason, former Patriot, now NBC teammate Devin McCourty, he was just like, they love Demario Douglas, and they were talking him up. And so he had the bad fumble early in the season, was in the doghouse for a bit, but has emerged and has become their guy. Targets, receptions, yards, all season highs in Week 10 against the Colts, where he went 6 for 84. One of the few things that was working right for this Patriots offense. We don't know who the starting quarterback will be when they come out of the bye. Bill Belichick.
I don't think it matters. Because he going to get his either
correct.
way. And just to take it off of a fantasy perspective, if you're watching the Patriots offense, you see who the best playmaker and most explosive playmaker is that they have at this point.
Yep.
100%. By the way, last 4 weeks, 23% target share for Demario Douglas, to your point.
Yep. Lawrence, I always like to get your opinion on secondary Cleveland Browns wide receivers. And now that Donovan Peoples-Jones is gone, Elijah Moore comes more to the fore, coming off a solid game against the Ravens.
Well, first off, Elijah Moore needs more names for me to like, because I like the players with like 2 last names, right? Week 10, 5 catches, 44 yards, and the touchdown there. What he is he's the solidified number 2 receiver in that Browns offense. It's like you could pick him up, put him on your bench, see what happens there. You know what his role is, but in the Browns offense, which is definitely getting better, I don't know if it's a point where, you're throwing him in a lineup on an offense that's not like the Houston Texans. Like, you could feel confident starting multiple receivers on a team like the Texans, not so much the Cleveland Browns. 19.5% target share this season, which is a little over 6.3 targets a game, at least one red zone target in 4 of his past 5 games. So he's going to get the opportunities here and there. And they'll also give it to him in the backfield sometimes too.
1,000%. And Watson being back and looking like Watson certainly elevates that offense. Next guy on my list here, Lawrence, is Brandin Cooks. Look, he's scored in 3 of the past 4 games. That's exciting. He's had twice as many targets as Michael Gallup over the past 3 weeks. That's the key here. It's like if you want a piece of the Cowboys offense beyond CeeDee Lamb or Jake Ferguson, it feels like it's Brandin Cooks. Now the concern is that 51% of his receiving yards this year came in Week 10 against the Giants. But they play the Panthers and then the Commanders and then the Seahawks and then the Eagles. So the next 2 at least are not defenses that scare you. Brandin Cooks is available in 62% of leagues.
And Quentin Johnston, Lawrence, who has become a little bit more of a focal point in the Chargers offense just because they don't have anyone else. What are you expecting from him going forward?
Yeah, volume's not crazy, but his snap percentage has gone up. 84% of the offensive snaps over the last 2 weeks. He scored his first touchdown in Week 10. Again, it wasn't crazy numbers. Caught 4 passes for 34 yards. If he doesn't get the touchdown, obviously we're not as happy. But again, he's in the game now. Beginning of the season, he wasn't in the game at all. Now he's playing a better part of the snap. So you like him more. Like, I'll take him more than Jalen Guyton.
I like him more than Jalen Guyton just based on talent. But the fact is, Guyton got more targets in this past game than Quentin Johnston did, and Guyton played 78% of the snaps. So one of the reasons why Johnston isn't as high as you might think he would be is because of the presence of Jalen Guyton. The fact of the matter is this offense goes through Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler, and then you've got Guyton and Johnston competing with the tight ends for whatever's left after those 2. So he's on there. We like the talent. We hope he emerges, but we're not ready to go all in. Just like if you need somebody this week, there's better options than Quentin Johnston because of the presence of Jalen Guyton.
Yep. Let's take a look at some deep league wide receiver targets, headlined by Jaden Reed, Michael Wilson, Trenton Irwin, who caught a crisp touchdown from Joe Burrow, and looks like T. Higgins is probably going to be out against the Ravens on Thursday Night Football. And then Marvin Mims against Minnesota on Sunday night, Matthew.
Yeah, we'll talk more about this game coming up, but the fact is that Mims, even though he didn't do much against the Bills, the fact is he played 69% of the team's snaps. And Sean Payton talking about wanting to get him more involved. This is somebody that Payton himself drafted in the 2nd round. So I do think Marvin Mims is one of those guys that could have a big second half as these rookie wide receivers. Michael Wilson, 4 straight games with 3 or more receptions as well. Kyler Murray back certainly helps that entire offense as well.
Okay, let's look at the rankings, how we order these guys in terms of picking them up. Noah Brown first, Demario Douglas second, then Elijah Moore, Brandin Cooks, who the week before that 173-yard game had 1 catch for 7 yards, and then Quentin Johnston is 5th, more of a flyer.
Again, it all depends on what else you need. If you need somebody for later in the season, Demario Douglas and Quentin Johnston would be more priorities for me. If you're like, I need somebody this week. Listen, I like Noah Brown this week and moving forward, but the rest of the guys, Brandin Cooks is more of like a this week play, and we'll see.
Noah Brown just took over for Robert Woods, huh?
Yeah, well, Bobby Trees is
overdue.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.